How's it going, everyone? My name is Falling Hurts, and today we're going to be going over my review of Fall Guys in 2022. So this is my Falling Hurts Fall Guys review. I feel like I have the most to say on the topic. Originally releasing in August of 2020 on PlayStation and PC, Fall Guys was able to utilize the pandemic's isolation in a way that brought everyone together. It also helps that the game launched for free on PS Plus at the time to make it a pretty massive hit. Developed by Mediatonic and published at launch by Devolver Digital, Fall Guys garnered a lot of attention from all over the industry, including the expanding efforts of Epic Games. Epic went on to acquire Mediatonic as one of their own studios, and presumably now that any deal and exclusivity windows have ended at PlayStation, there has been a huge shakeup for Fall Guys in 2022. First off, it's free to play. Also, it's on pretty much every platform you'd want it to be, from the Switch, through the Xboxes and the PlayStations, all the way to PC, but now exclusively on the Epic Game Store, of course. But while it may be easier than ever to actually jump into Fall Guys, I hope to answer with this review if it's actually worth your time. And to start out, I'd like to give a little bit of background. I did play Fall Guys at launch on the PlayStation, as I was one of the people who claimed it for free and probably made it into as popular as it was. Not saying I personally did that, but I was one of those numbers. But jumping in now, mostly on Xbox and PC, there have been quite a few changes that I've actually noticed, and I'm really impressed with everything that's happened so far. Some of the things that have improved since the initial launch, which is now referred to as the Legacy launch, was the removal of team-based gameplay modes in the solo queue. They've made it to where you can jump into a solo, duos, or squads game, and basically you have to be in either the duo or the squads game mode to have these games show up, and you have to work with team, basically eliminating the need for randos to have to work together in order for it to work out. So overall, this is a good change, but I do have some criticism of these game modes a little bit later, so stay tuned for that. Another big thing that happened with the launch of Fall Guys is actually the limited time event modes that play out usually for about 5 days at a time, and pretty much this is a free way for players to earn items through playing different game modes that they're not usually doing, or at least doing different objectives during your game modes, and you can get fun crossovers like Halo or Assassin's Creed have been things so far, but then you also just get summer themed skins and different little customization things. Overall, it's pretty cool, and I really appreciate this. My one concern is I'm not sure how long the consistency of these releases will show up, as this has been one of the most fun reasons to hop into the game weekly, or actually more daily at this point for me, and it's been pretty fun to kind of cash in on these challenges, even if they can be a little difficult. Now, another big thing I noticed as I hopped into my Xbox for the first time to play Fall Guys was actually the account parity and the cross progression thanks to the Epic Games account. Much like Fortnite, when you launch into Fall Guys on Xbox now, or I'm assuming PlayStation as well at this point, you will have to sign in or create an Epic Games account. Now, me playing mostly on Epic Games as it is, I had Fall Guys already downloaded, so I signed up, created my account. This was all new for me. I had not played Fall Guys since the new point, so I didn't have any skins or anything like that. But playing on Xbox and then hopping over to PC, I'd noticed as I popped achievements on PC and I went back to Xbox, those achievements for the Xbox itself would pop as well, which was really nice, and I'm really glad I didn't have to try to farm for any achievements twice. Not that that's really my thing, but it would have been really annoying not to see that. But it was really nice to see because Fortnite in just the Battle Royale doesn't have achievements, so therefore it wasn't something I honestly knew would happen. But the only other big change I noticed from now in the original version of the game is the actual bulk of new game modes that have been added since launch. There are so many new game modes that I'm still finding a few here and there whenever I play, and it's really nice to not know everything you have. Of course, I could go and look up a list, and I actually did for this review, but I was specifically just checking for the types of games there are, not the game modes themselves. And really, I'm excited to see if there's any more that I have yet to see, because I played pretty extensively for this review, so let that be known. But now that I've kind of talked about everything I think that has been enhanced since the original PlayStation and PC launch, let's talk a little bit more about what I liked about the game, and I'll kind of get into my negative criticism at the end of the video and try to turn it into a constructive type thing. So going right into what I thought the game does really well now is honestly my biggest compliment that I could ever give a game, and that's that it's fun. And I don't say that lightly, I mean this game is really fun. It's live service, meaning you're basically meant to live within its ecosystem, buy its battle pass, spend money because it is free to play. It's all additive, you don't need to play the game, but if you see a skin you really like or something like that, that's the idea. That's the loop there that they want you to feed into. Not every skin is meant to be for you. You're not meant to buy everything. But regardless, just talking about the game itself and the gameplay, it's really fun, if a bit wonky sometimes, but for the most part it feels rather fair, and you can even see other people getting fucked over by the game just as much as you are. And whether you're playing for 20 minutes or 20 hours, I really had a great time playing the game, and as I said earlier, I'm still finding new things to really enjoy and love. One thing over time that I've really realized is that the game modes are given a lot longer life through variation. For instance, the placement of traps and different like hammers and things that can knock the players around on a game like tail tag, where you have to basically catch other players and grab them and take their tail so you have it by the end of the match. The placement of these traps makes it completely different whether I'm going to hide at the top of the map or the bottom of the map, but I've seen 3 different variations of this map alone, let alone the tens of 20s of other different maps that I haven't even really paid that close of attention to. Another thing that I think really helps give Fall Guys a really fresh coat of paint after every other party game ever just seems to come and go is actually its use of color. The game is super colorful, from the stages to the characters all the way over to the UI. It makes everything look really interesting to see, and there's never a dull moment. But it all fits together really tonally well as like a game show aesthetic, and in that way nothing feels completely over the top, even though everything you're looking at really is over the top. Oh, and something I wanted to add in, just as a quick little thing, the game is very small in size. Due to the fact that it has like a custom map maker now and creator mode type thing, which is really cool, you should check out, but I'm not really going to be reviewing this for this. The game is really small, and it's just a bunch of items that can be placed together. So once you download the assets, overall, as many different maps and variations of maps as there are, the game is really small in size, and I'm talking less than 5 gigs on PC, and I'm not really sure on consoles. I'd have to double check that, but oh well. Now, I've kind of tiptoed around it enough. Let's actually talk about the game modes for a minute and kind of break down what they are. First off, we have the race type, which is quite literally just a race to the finish line, and depending on how many people are in the game is how many can actually qualify. Whoever doesn't make it to the end by that time is eliminated from the game. And then we have the team games, which are like kind of iffy. They're hit or miss, where it's quite simple. You play as a team, collecting eggs, putting them in your basket, or doing some other weird objective. They're all pretty varied, but you're playing in a team. And then you've got survival, where the goal is basically to survive getting knocked off the map or elimination in some form. For instance, there's one where you can just stand on this one beam, and you have to make sure you don't get knocked off before anyone else does. And then we have the hunt game mode, which is where you're going to be running around doing objectives like jumping through hoops or anything like that. And this is the one where I think personally is my least favorite, just because it's just kind of there. I mean, it's fine, I guess. A lot of times you're just gathering points for participation, staying inside a certain zone to get points, or like I said, jumping through hoops, but it's nothing super crazy. And then finally, you have the last or final stage, which is basically last man standing type situations. But overall, the final stage is usually a lot of fun, and where I lose a lot of the time. But overall, all of these game modes come together with the custom game modes and maps that can be created, as well as the limited time events, to make a very holistic and great experience. And as I talked earlier about the monetization of this game, it is exactly the same as Fortnite. $9.50 currency to get the battle pass, as well as skins throughout and different customizations, and I think that's really good. And this is where I'm going to drop in some criticism on the back half, but for right now, what I wanted to say is that a lot of the crossovers and skins look really good. There's characters like 2B from Nier, Godzilla and, Ghidorah and Mothra from obviously the Monsterverse, or you could say the Toho Godzillas. And then you've got stuff like the Doomslayer, Cacodemon, as well as a myriad of different things. My point is that there's a lot of really cool crossovers here, and everyone has a skin that they're gonna like. I can almost guarantee that. So I have to give props for that. Now, this is where my criticism does come in, and this is something that I really do feel strongly about, is that the skins are broken into top half and bottom half. So you could have Godzilla legs and Godzilla top. My issue is that Godzilla top doesn't work well with any other legs. I don't know, it's just the way that the art styles are displayed on these skins. You can't mix and match really well with a lot of these skins, and I'm not just talking about like these licensed skins. I really mean all of them. Like, a lot of them don't look well together except with what they're meant to match with, which is really unfortunate because there is a randomizer thing in your closet where you can have different skins available, but it just doesn't look good and it's so bad. And that was my personal biggest criticism with the game, is that some of the skins just didn't have a lot of parity with that. But continuing on with Epic Games and how they own both Fortnite and Fall Guys now, I would have loved to see a parity between the V-Bucks and the Show Bucks, I think they're called. But I think at this point, with how big Epic has been into the metaverse, they should have made it one currency, spanning across their entire store. What I mean is, if I go into Fortnite and I buy, say, V-Bucks, I don't use all my V-Bucks, I have some left over. If I hop into Fall Guys, I should be able to use them if I want to. I think it should have been one currency, and that would be a great way to unify under their Epic Games banner. Hell, even if they still just called it V-Bucks, I think that would have been fine. I'm pretty sure they reworked the currency after the 1.0 launch of Fall Guys anyway. They should have just done this. To me, that seems like a no-brainer, but let me know what you think of that down below. So that could have just been me on that one, but it seems like a missed opportunity. Other issues that I did have with the, behind-the-scenes stuff is that you can't watch victory celebrations that you can unlock during the season battle pass in the battle pass screen. You basically have to pull up the screen to buy it, and that's it. So unless you're seeing it in-game, there's no real way to check it out. If you want it, say if I want to buy the battle pass, like, ooh, I'd like to see some nice victory screens, but I don't know. Either way, it was just a minor nitpick, but hey. As far as technical issues go, I'd like to go ahead and say this here, is that I did have a few crashes on the Xbox Series S while playing, and I had a couple of server disconnects on PC, but I will say the server disconnects did come at a time when the game was probably at the height of its players, right after the new launch. I haven't really had any problems with that since, but the crashes on Series X are something that I'm really not sure what was going on there. But with that stuff out of the way, let's get into the nitty-gritty of some of the things I didn't like about the actual gameplay itself. First off, certain games just straight up overstay their welcome. While there's certain games where you can just kind of race and reach to the finish, not thinking too hard about it, there are some that are like counting games and memory games where you have to pick the right option to succeed, and those don't fit very well into that turn your brain off and play mantra. Something I think the game should really lean into. Like, this is a game where if I want to hop on Discord and talk to a friend, we can just play Fall Guys in the background and not think about it. I can't really do that if I'm having to count and think all the time, and it really just messes up the flow of things as a conversation type game, or more specifically, as you want to say, a social game. And as I alluded to earlier, I still think that the team-based game modes are really fucking bad. I feel like Scarlett Johansson all the time in that Marriage Story movie where she's just sitting there fucking crying. Anytime I see tail tag or anything like that pop up on my screen during these limited time event modes, which is the only place I play these. And it's very unfortunate that you have to rely on randos for some of these in-game items, but it's not the end of the world because it is free and you don't necessarily need it. But regardless of if you need it or not, or if it's something that you have to do, it's still very unfun and quite frankly frustrating. I mean, there's no way around it, and I can't help how I feel. The team-based game modes are just bad. If I was playing with friends, I might feel differently, but honestly, I really never did during this review. And finally, the last thing I really cared about during the gameplay is pretty refined. I had these few criticisms, but the one thing I noticed is that much like Fortnite, which they've straight up said that there are bots, apparently in Fall Guys at one point there were bots after Googling. Correct me if I'm wrong, but supposedly they aren't in the game anymore. There's some really bad players that I'm almost convinced that whenever the servers are bogged down or there isn't enough players to fill up quickly, I really do think that there are bots filling these games, and honestly, I hate it. I just think it's dumb. I think in Fortnite it makes a little more sense just because there's so many people, but Fall Guys only has a max lobby of 60, and with those 60 people, it should be no problem to fill up these games with how popular it is, and I just see it as a little bit of a cop-out, and it's not a really good way to test how good you are at the game. But that's really everything I had to say about Fall Guys. To summarize in a less long-winded way, Fall Guys is a game that has improved quite a bit since its legacy launch in 2020. However, there have been some issues that have persisted, as well as new criticisms that I've had pop up since the new launch. But overall though, that doesn't get in the way of the fun that this game can be, and it really does provide a great ecosystem to live in, play daily, and earn rewards while also just having a lot of fun. Whether you're playing with friends or by yourself, I think this is a great experience, but there are some minor issues with playing on your own, especially if you're someone who likes to get every possible item, especially with how widespread it is on pretty much every platform and the free-to-play cost. I'd say this game is definitely worth your time, and even more so, I'd even argue that it's worth your time to go through that battle pass, do those challenges, and get Mechagodzilla at the end. Yes, I'm completely biased on this one, and I take that into consideration, but I think the battle pass is a fun thing to work through here, and I think you go through it at a pretty good pace. So with that being said, my name is Falling Hurts. Thank you so much for watching my review. Let me know if you check out the game, and if you somehow avoided it up till this point. You didn't, by the way. This game is reaching incredible player numbers, but I felt like I had to talk about this game to some degree. So, hey, Epic Games, if you saw this, yeah, put me on the team. Put me somewhere. I don't care. I'll be your social media guy. I don't give a shit. I'm willing to be a full-on Epic Games guy at this point. Between Fortnite, this, the Epic Games Store, going to a place that I really enjoy. Look out for a video of that soon, by the way. But regardless, that's me. Thanks for watching. Bye.